everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea and I have another project intro for you today, but this one is a little different because it is not a makeup panning project. This is actually two projects that I'm combining into one video. These are book/reading projects. If you followed my Color Me reading project last year, I'm doing that again, but then I was also invited to join another project that was started by Amy from Curly Loves Beauty and Books, and it is the project #PanYourTBR Bookshelf, and I have a lot of books that I physically own. I have a lot of books I physically own that I haven't read yet. So I thought I would combine the two projects into one video, and Amy said it was okay. I believe Verity is doing the same thing. So basically, we're just panning our bookshelves of things that we've never read before. If any of you out there are like me, you buy books with the intention of reading them, but then you never read them. So this project is a way to kind of get us to actually read the books that we haven't read yet. I know Amy posted a video a few days ago going through all of her books and giving you numbers and things, and I went through and, to the best of my ability, counted all of my books up and whether I'd read them or not. So I can give you those numbers, but I'm not going to take you on a tour of my bookshelves because they look pretty janky at the moment, and it's a little embarrassing. So I have a total of 515 books, and out of those books, I have read 238 of them. So that means there are 277 books that I physically own that I have never read. I'm going to make a little caveat. I think some of the ones I counted as unread I have read, but I read them so long ago that I don't remember if I read them. So I think that number probably is in actuality a little bit lower, but if I don't remember that I read something, it's effectively like I never read it. So that's what my collection is looking at the moment. And I have a Goodreads account. I'll link it down below if you want to be like Goodreads friends. But I challenged myself to read 50 books this year. I kind of petered out of keeping track of what I read last year, so I'm not quite sure, but I know I read at least 25. So it's not outside the realm of possibility for me to read 50 books. It's not super likely, but I figured go big or go home. So that is the plan. That's pretty much it for the Pan Your TBR Bookshelf project. I mean, there's not really any goals or rules or anything. I will include things that are on my TBR or on my want to read bookshelf on Goodreads that I don't own, like that I might get from the library or something like that. That will obviously count towards this project because it's something I want to read. Just because I don't physically own the book myself doesn't mean I can't read it. But for this project, I do mostly want to focus on books that I actually own, and in many cases have owned for years and years and years and have never read. So before I switch over to the Color Me reading portion, I do want to say really quick the people who are joining this project. And of course, if you want to join, just let Amy know and she will be happy to include you in our group chat. But we have Amy, who's Curly Loves Beauty and Books. She's the creator. There's Kim from Teacher Loves Beauty. Emily from Emily and Max, although she has a second channel that I believe is McInnes Mama. And I think she said she's not doing monthly updates. She'll just like every couple months do updates, but that's where this project is going to be across on her YouTube. It's not going to be on her main account. There's Verity from Red Dirt and Stardust, and Samantha from Makeup Mania and More, who are the creators of the Color Me reading project, which I'm also doing and kind of like commingling with this one. So that's it for the Pan Your TBR Bookshelf portion. And now for Color Me reading, this is like kind of a finale for 2021 and an intro for 2022 because my last update I think was in November. So I didn't like update after that. So last year, November's color was green, and I read 3 green books, and they were all really good. First, I read Mexican Gothic, which I think Courtney already read this, right, Courtney? It's so good. I actually like this so much that I got a Barnes & Noble gift card for Christmas, and I ordered one of her other books, The Gods of Jade and Shadow, which is in the Color Me Reading Project for this year. And it is like if you've ever seen Crimson Peak by Guillermo del Toro, it's like this, but set in 1950s Mexico. Like, it's just really good. I don't want to give anything away, but if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of like the Gothic, obviously it's in the title, like this is a really good read. Then I read The Searcher by Tana French. Tana French is one of my favorite writers. I love everything that she's written. Now this one is a little bit different because usually she has the Dublin Murder Squad like series where each book, like there's 2 characters in the first book and it's told from one character's point of view. With the second book, that first character is not really in the book, but it's told through that second character's point of view, and then it like so on and so forth. So you're going through like a bunch of the different detectives in the murder squad. This is more of a standalone, like not more of a, this is not part of that series. It still does deal with like detective work and there's a murder mystery and all that, but the main character is actually a retired police officer from, I believe, Chicago, if I'm remembering correctly, but he's starting his retirement like in Ireland, and he gets mixed up and a whole thing, and it's just, she's such a good writer. I have liked / loved every single book that she's written. The only book she's written that I don't believe I've read yet is The Witch Elm, and that is also in this project, so I will be reading that this year. You can guarantee that. The last one I read is a library book. It's called Last Days by Adam Neville, and it's about this documentary filmmaker trying to expose this old doomsday cult from the 70s, and lots of crazy stuff happens, and it's like all supernatural and not really demons, but it's hard to explain. This says Britain's answer to Stephen King. Like, I can definitely see where they're going with that. Obviously, his writing style is much different than Stephen King. There are some aspects that I enjoy his writing style more than Stephen King's, because this is a tangent. Stephen King does this thing I find super, super annoying in like almost every single one of his books, where something like 2 characters will be interacting and then like the last sentence of the chapter is, little did Sally know she was never going to see Jack again. And it was just like, come on, dude, you just ruined the suspense that this guy is gonna die. Like, don't do that. Anyway, that's a little rant, but it was good. I know he's written a book called The Ritual, which I haven't read, but I actually have watched. I think it's actually like a Netflix produced film, but it's definitely, I saw it on Netflix. It was made into a movie and I watched the movie, and the movie was pretty good. So I would like to read the book at some point, but those were the 3 green books I read. And then December was purple. And Courtney might yell at me. I did not actually, oh, you look beautiful, honey. I did not actually finish any purple book. I started The Picture of Dorian Gray. That's how far into it I am. I think I'm gonna laugh if I've only got like a couple pages left. Hold on. Because this has The Picture of Dorian Gray and then there's other short stories. I have like less than 40 pages left in it, and I will finish it. I'm having such a hard time with it because I don't really like it that much. I'm sorry, Courtney. I know you said I would really like it, but I don't. It's kind of, it's boring. like the good stuff doesn't even start happening until like 150 pages in, and this story slash novel, that's not really a novel, this book is only like 250 pages. I'm just like, I was waiting for something to happen and waiting and waiting. And I'm just like I get it. It's, he's like taking down the class and stuff of Britain at the time and like society and what it means to all this stuff. I get that's what he's going for, but it's not interesting and I don't like it. So I'm going to finish it, but that is probably going to get too cluttered when I'm done with it because I'm not enjoying it. But anyway, so with Color Me Reading, Verity and Samantha are changing it up a little bit. Well, not a little bit. They're changing it up a lot for 2022. So Verity and Samantha are actually changing it up quite a bit for 2022. Last year, there was one color for the month, and the goal was to read books featuring that color somehow. I felt this way, and I know Verity did, and I think Samantha did it as well. It was very limiting. It felt like, even though you can do whatever you want, you know, you don't have to just read books for this project, but if I wanted to read a book, 'cause I don't read that much, it had to be something for this project. But if I wanted to read something else, like, I felt like I couldn't. So this year, what they decided to do is, instead of assigning colors to months, they just picked 24 colors, and you just have to read a book and correspond it to each color in some way at some point in the year, which makes it a lot more open-ended. It makes it a lot easier to just read whatever, and then you can kind of like try to fit it in to a slot in the color sheet. So I did, some of the colors are easier than others, like depending on how your collection is set up. I did go through and I did like try to find books in my collection that I had that were unread that corresponded to colors. There's like 3 or 4 where I was having a hard time, but like I said, like I'm hoping that library books and stuff like that I can slide them in there, find books that will match those colors that I want to read and slide them in there. So I have read 1 book so far this year, and I don't quite know how I'm going to set this up as far as books read. I guess if I read a book and I'm not counting it towards my Color Me Reading, I'll talk about it in Pan Your TBR bookshelf. And then if I have read it and I am counting it towards Color Me Reading, I'll talk about it in like this section. So even though this is the intro, I still have a book to share with you that I have read this year that I am counting towards my Color Me Reading. This is the first book I've read this year. Well, this is the only book I've read this year. I'm counting it towards the color gray for Color Me Reading. And it is nothing but Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. If you know me, you know that I saw this cover and I was like, I have to buy this book and read it. It's really short. It's like a novella, not an actual novel. It's 124 pages. So I read it in like, I don't know, an hour and a half or something. I don't want to give the impression I didn't like it, because I did like it. It was just a little heavy on the like simile and metaphor, I think, where there are points I feel like the author is trying to be like a little too clever with her writing style, and it kind of took away from it. But it was very interesting because there's a lot of different Japanese like folklore creatures in here. So a lot of times I would get to a section and they were talking about something specific and I would look it up and I was like, okay. I mean, the cover art, I have to find it because I want to make sure I say it correctly. First, there's a group of 5 friends who have managed to, one of them is quite wealthy, and he has managed to like rent out this Japanese haunted mansion for like the weekend for them, because 2 of them are getting married. So that's kind of like setting the scene. And they get there and the narrator is a very troubled young woman, and she's describing the house, and there's a lot of, and I'm going to say this incorrectly, I'm sure, and I do apologize to anyone who does speak Japanese, but the house is decorated with yokai, Y-O-K-I, Y-O-K-A-I, and I looked it up and they are just like Japanese like folklore, mythical spirits, supernatural being kind of things. And the story with the house is that supposedly a bride and a groom were getting married there, and the groom died on the way to the wedding, and the bride decided that she wanted to be buried alive in the house, and she was going to wait for the groom, so she's like kind of the main haunting of the house. But she is, oh my gosh, I'm never, like, they said what it is so many times. Oh, okay. And the ghost in the house is a very specific kind of ghost called an Ohaguro Batari, which, when I looked it up, I mean, this is exactly what, not exactly, but you know, this is what the ghost looks like. And that's an actual, like, supernatural entity in Japanese folklore. So that whole aspect of the book I thought was really cool. It definitely follows the horror movie pattern of, like, there's tension among the group and then weird things start happening, but at the same time it's also very meta because the characters are like, you never split up in a horror movie, like, he's the hero character, we're the sidekick and like the funny guy, and you're queer and we die first. And like they're very aware of horror tropes and stuff, but it's just really interesting. I did enjoy it. Like I said, just her writing style wasn't my favorite, but like I said, it was a short book, and I'm not gonna get rid of it by any means. Like, I will definitely probably reread it again at some point. So I know there's a bunch of people on Instagram, like we have an Instagram chat for this project. I think for the most part people are doing this over on Instagram. Verity and I, maybe Samantha, because I know she's been posting more lately, maybe doing this project over here on YouTube. But I know more people have joined this year than we were doing it last year.
I wanted to go last week at all my books. I wanted to talk when I wanted to. They told me not to supposed to.
And whenever that was. But anyway, if you search the hashtag Color Me Reading, we'll see people's posts on Instagram. And if you want to join along, you can contact Verity or Samantha, and I'm sure they'd be happy to add you to the chat. This video was just really kind of all over the place. It was a bit rushed, me having a chance to film it, but hopefully next month will be a little bit easier to follow.
Mommy.
Yeah, that's me.
My sisters wanted to go home. I'm starting from my video until I wanted to.
You're starring from your video?
I wanted to go from my video when I wanted to. I wanted to go just when I wanted to.
I don't know what she's saying. Okay, well, we're going to say goodbye now because Mama's done filming her video. So that was the intro to... Goodbye.
Thank you. Do it.
No, I'm not done yet.
Why?
Because I have to say goodbye. So that was the intro to my two new reading, well, my one new reading and my one recurring reading project for 2022. I do love to read. I need to make it more of a priority in my life. I know I said this a lot last year, and I did read more than I have in several years, but still not as much as I would have liked to. So hopefully the connection, hopefully the, what do you call it? The words? Hopefully the combination of these two projects will actually get me to go through some of my books that I've had sitting in my collection for a long time and just read more in general. But I hope you enjoyed. As always, let me know if you've read anything good lately, because Even though I've got 277 unread books here, I've got way more than that on my want to read list on Goodreads, and I'm always looking for more to add.
Hey, you go play. Have some fun.
So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're staying safe and sane and healthy.
Hey,
And I'll talk to you in the next
Have
one.
some fun.
Bye.
I'm gonna
Okay.
press the button.
You're gonna push the button. Okay. Just be gentle.